I'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast, Road to Kindness. And Tony's been just helping us go and bringing us through a tour, an adventure, and in friendship and kindness and a whole bunch of things. And so I'm going to let Tony go. But today, just to give everybody heads up, I don't know if I'm sassy today or if I have so many things on my heart and I just don't understand them.
Oh, you should share them. You want to share them first before
Well,
we even get
no,
going,
because
or
then you won't get to lesson. You won't like
what?
once Mark gets going, it's like it's just
Uh,
crazy. And so yeah, no, share go through your lesson for
uh,
sure, and then we'll get into the other.
all right. Well, let's touch on uh, Trina, we've been working through the Dale Carnegie book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. So I don't know if you've heard of that book
Yeah, I've
before.
taken those classes.
Good for you. That's awesome. That for a 20-year-old to actually understand or know who Dale Carnegie is and his classes especially are powerful. So I hope you enjoyed those. But we're on number principles 13, 14, and 15 today. And we also added in why these work. So 13 is begin in a friendly way. Begin every conversation, whether it's going to be a bad conversation or a good conversation, in a friendly way. It's easier to start good conversations in friendly ways. And get the other person saying yes immediately. All right. So we talked about that one. And then let the other person do a great deal of talking. So, Mark, I think talking and listening have been part of this whole discussion, I think. So principle 13 says, okay, if someone's going to approach you and they're going to approach you and you could, even before the conversation starts, you know how it's going to go because they're either frustrated or angry or they're smiling, right? If they're smiling, they're more, it's more approachable and it's more easy to have a nice conversation, even if they have to share bad news. This is about sharing bad news. So a friendly beginning doesn't ignore difficult conversation. So even in like emails, someone will say, thank you for all you do. However, I'd like to share with you something that maybe is bothering me. You get those emails every so often and you have to deal with them. So the point here is nicer to start in a friendly way than it is to start in, I'm so angry with you that I don't even know what to say. And a lot of people can't do that. But this principle brings in the idea is that when you see someone approaching you in a not such a nice way, in your mind, there's an alarm system that goes off. And it tells you, hey, this is going to be a difficult conversation. And I can remember my days in public accounting. You know, people used to love to pick on the younger guys. When I first started, there was this manager who was never happy, Mark. He was always not. I hated working with him because he was never happy, and so he would give you these nasty comments, like he'd say, "Here's your review notes for doing this work," and they'd always start out with, "You either did a moderate job or a terrible job." I mean, and so you knew right away it never was kind, and so even if you did everything right and the numbers all worked out right that you were auditing, it didn't matter. So. But that alarm system always went off like, I don't really want to deal with this person. I mean, think about it. So there's people you want to deal with, there's people that you don't want to deal with in the world. But kindness doesn't remove the difficult conversation. It makes it a productive conversation. So any thoughts on this one?
Well, there's so many triggers. Like,
There are
like
so many triggers, huh? Isn't
I
there?
mean, I'm like my daughter Melissa. She's like, "Uh oh, Dad's going. His Tourette's is kicking in." He's like, he's like, 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 if you're done, are you done? You're not
So
done.
no,
You
no, I'm
got
not
to
done.
be.
So here's my amiable. The amiable comes out of me is that I really don't want to have conflict. So what I end up doing is if I'm in a bad conversation or I had a bad car, I go and work out because I have to find an outlet that brings me peace, at least some peace. So I could go hit the bag for a half an hour and I feel better. Everybody has they have to find an outlet. I think this is what's saying too. If you're there is something that's difficult, you have to find an outlet that helps you. And so the next one is probably one of the most important ones for in sales negotiations and things, getting the other person to say yes immediately. So if you think about this just for a minute, if you get a person saying yes to a number of questions before you really get into what you want to talk about, isn't it easier for them? Doesn't it open their mind up to other alternatives? Makes it easier for them to say, hey, or negotiate a little easier. I've been in tons of negotiations for businesses and deals. And every one of those we started with, hey, well, we had, let's talk about let's talk about the good things in the agreement first. And we get people to say yes, they like this part of the agreement. And then it's easier to get to one, if you're going to talk price, you're buying a company, you want to talk price, you always want to low ball on the price. So at least I got them saying yes to a couple of things. They're going to be more open to negotiate with me. And that seems to work in a lot of situations too. And both in sales and in negotiations. And so the brain behind this is that adults naturally look for signs that they're safe, respected, and part of the team. When you get people to say yes, it's more easy for them to feel like they're part of the team, even in a negotiation. I want to work with you, especially if you're buying a company and and the other people are going to stick around and stay in the company. So it's easier if you get them to say yes more often. And you're building a partnership in that way. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then the last one is let the other person do a great deal of the talking. So that's why I asked Mark, do you want to talk first? Because I want to listen. So the idea here, though, is that if you give people the opportunity to talk first, they're going to tell you everything that's going on in their mind. They're going to tell you what's wrong. Most people will anyway. There's still some people like we work a lot with young kids that have ADHD. And I can tell you they're sometimes the hardest people to open up to you until they build what? They have to build trust. Once you get over the hump, and a lot of this is about building trust with the other person, because once you build trust, people will open up with you more. But if you break that trust, then you're done. If the idea is if you go in, like someone says, I want to tell you this in confidence, and you go, when someone says that, what's your natural instinct? I tell my kids, this is between us. Don't go tell mom this. Immediately they go tell mom. So, I mean, it's just a natural tendency, but so I try to avoid those words. I'm telling you this only. Don't say it to anybody, because the natural instinct on a person says, I got to tell somebody. I got to go tell somebody. But here's where, listening is really important. Let people talk first. While you might think that it's passive, it's really not passive. And it's really getting people to open up, and is one of the most powerful leadership skills that someone can have. So I'll turn it back to you, Mark, to tell us what's on your mind today.
Well, again, before I get going,
anyway.
it's going to be a freight train. I mean, it's just going to be. Rosanna, your thoughts about what Tony shared?
I have some of the similar challenges when somebody wants to confront something of me. So, those are good ideas for maybe walking away from it and then coming back to it. So maybe I respond better.
Yeah. I do that all the time. I mean, I think you and I think are somewhat alike in that perspective, because, I'm not, well, I don't run away from conflict if like we had, I didn't tell you guys this, but we had someone come at our charity with a fraud. This is the second time in a year. But this time I had the opportunity to confront the person doing it over the phone. And immediately, as soon as I started confronting them, he hung up. So I don't have a problem confronting people that are trying to scam me or do something. But, if it's this family situation, we're in a deep argument. Sometimes if I get hyper focused, I'm brutal. But if I can walk away and think about what the situation is, then I'm do a lot better with the conversation. So good.
So yeah, I would think that after being married for 41 years, that, like, I talked to Alvin Miller, he and I hang out with my granddaughter JoJo. He's 80, in his mid 80s, been married over 60 years, very successful business guy.
Yeah.
And my 8-year-old granddaughter, she just sits there and just listens. It's the cutest thing in the world. It's awesome. And so I said to him a few weeks back ago, I said, like, you guys have been married 60 years. My wife and I have been married 41 years. And I'm just curious, do you get frustrated and you think we should have had this figured out by now? He starts laughing. He's like, oh no, that's never gonna That's always going to be there. I'm like, really? Like that's not like, but he didn't ask. He didn't say, well, I don't know, Mark. Like, tell me, tell me what it is that you guys are struggling with. Like he wasn't, he wasn't curious, which, yeah, okay. Discipline, Mark. Don't. So like the amiable, so Roseanne is an amiable analytic. She's an amiable analytic. I'm a driver analytic. And so 41 years of marriage, I would think, hey, you guys ought to go ahead and have this stuff figured out, but we don't. We just don't. And it's just like, you know what? And so it's like she gets locked. And for I don't know how many years, I don't know. I just like, okay. But now it's like, yeah. So everybody's talking to me. Like, like, like Mark's the one that needs to be fixed always. Like it's Mark. Mark's the one that needs to be fixed. I think they go to the one who's actually fixable and the one that they don't. I mean, it sounds harsh, but I think that's true. Like people know instantly Mark's open and receptive, Rosanna's not. I mean, that seems like a harsh thing to say, but Rosanna, your thoughts?
There's a possibility of that.
So I love when Tony, do the women in your life, do they tease and taunt you?
No,
Yeah.
no. Sometimes it depends, but I think
So
there's
Tony,
always gonna be things that you're never gonna figure out. I mean, if you in your brain, Mark, you want to figure everything out. There's an answer to everything, and sometimes there's not an answer to everything. But there isn't. I mean, as much you've done so much, and that's where your analytical stuff comes in because I'm an analytic too. I like to solve problems, but a lot of times when we're talking to it's the book called Men Are from Mars and Women Are from Venus. That book kind of set. I read that book a long time ago when I started dealing with family, my wife and stuff because um, sometimes I just be quiet and I let her talk, and then depending on what she
this
has to
is
say.
this is my perception of the flaw in that. The flaw in letting people talk. And Tony Robbins, he says you need to interrupt people. You
Well,
need to do
interrupt if they're
you need to
if
do an
you
interruption of people because if you don't, so the flaw in that, from my perspective, the flaw in that thinking is that when people talk, what they're doing is they're training their brain to go ahead and they're just feeding their brain, and so they're talking, explaining, and their brain becomes more and more locked on what it is. And if you don't interrupt them, they continue. So you have to. It seems like you have to do something that seems
well,
abusive or wrong or rude, but it's not because they're the ones that are abusive, mean, and rude. They're not
depends on
thinking.
if it's going down that path. I'm all for interrupting the pattern. I'm familiar with his interrupt the pattern because if someone's going down a bad path, you should interrupt the pattern. I mean, and that's as simple as saying, well, let's go out for ice cream or whatever it might be. You don't have to, you don't have to be nasty back. You just interrupt the pattern and say something that would be totally off the wall. That's how he thinks. And that's what his thinking's been. And I do use his thinking a lot of times too. I do interrupt people when they're going down a bad path. Cause if they're just going to pound on me, then I say, well, either I'm going to leave, which would be sometimes a good thing to do, or I'm going to say, yeah, I'll tell them stop. I'll say stop that. That's not the right thing to do either.
Nora,
That's
your thoughts?
I think there's a lot of truth into what Tony shared for sure. There wasn't anything specific that I necessarily wanted to dig deeper on. But it totally makes sense to me.
And
so Mark,
so,
I think you're the person that wants to go deep, right? You always want to go
right.
deeper
Yep.
and you want to figure out what is frustrating the other person. You want to figure out why their mind thinks like that,
Yep.
right? I mean,
Right. I mean,
sometimes, but sometimes we can't always. I like to solve problems just like you do. I'm a problem solver. I'm a builder and I like to solve problems. But
Right. Yeah.
there are just, and I think is it your 80-year-old person that you were talking to? I mean,
Yeah.
he kind of said
Alvin.
it, Alvin. He said it right. It's kind of like we always have that. So
See, and
did he say it?
see,
We
but
always have that.
Henry Ford went ahead and said, if you believe something to be true or believe it not to be true, either way, you're right. And so Henry Ford said, hey, that. And, he's pretty sharp. And it's like, so if I believe that I'm going to have these problems the rest of my life, well, then I'm going to have these problems. If I believe that, I'm not going to have these problems, that doesn't mean I'm not going to have these problems, but at least I'm not going to give up.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of problems you're having. So I mean, there's always going to be problems. No matter how you look at any relationship, there's going to be there's good things and bad things.
Well, I think
And
the good problems are having if you're both growing. The bad problems is if one's growing and one's stuck. Well, that's going to be a bad problem because that person who's stuck doesn't want the other person to grow. They just don't.
So is there a way that you can like continue looking for ways to solve the problem, but not be like fixated on the problem to where it's just like it's all you can think about and like you can't like you almost like can't let it go. Like
I think,
is there like a
yeah,
healthy balance between the two?
I think what Nor's spot on. I think what's happening is, Mark, you are ADHD and you hyper focus on stuff that, you know, and I'm ADHD too, and I hyper focus on certain,
It actually matters. I'm focused on stuff that
yeah,
actually matters rather than
yeah.
superficial surface stuff, temporal stuff that's just going to get burned away and not worth anything. And I don't
Yeah.
understand why do people major on the minors and minor on the majors? It's just stupid. Like, it's just stupid.
Because they
Like,
don't want to, they're not, that's about not dealing with the major things. People don't want to deal
right.
with the major things. That's, I mean, so I'll give you, and over the years, my mind has changed quite a bit. I'll give you an example. So we had an opportunity here this past 2 weeks here, to really take someone wanted to partner with us with the charity. And um, I'm a builder. I wanted to do that. I was looking at how can we take this to the next level, right? Um, Casey didn't want to do that. Didn't want to take it to the next level. So I said, well, let's think about where we're at in our life cycle. And I said, yeah, okay, let's back away. Let's do what we're doing. Let's continue what we're doing. And I open it up to God and I say, hey, wherever the universe takes me, I'm gonna go with the charity. I'm not gonna try to force things. Like years ago, I would have dug right in and I would have said, let's take this baby to the next level. Let's do what we need to do. And I guess so at least that's we talked about it. We talked in a rational way. We figured out okay where we're at, and we came to the same kind of conclusion on where we want to go. Um, that's years ago. I might have been totally different than I am today. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody or not, but
Yeah,
that's
I think so.
so.
Katrina, your thoughts, questions, insights?
Well, so is it okay if I like mention David in here?
Yeah, for sure.
So
Who's
like
Dave?
Anthony, Mark has like a hard time to get David to do things, and like he's just not he doesn't like David doesn't listen, and but one thing that like bothers me about it is because like Mark always starts off with that's just stupid, or like okay, I understand that it's really hard to find good things in David. Like it's probably harder than anyone else. Like you can't find a lot of good. But like the one principle you said, the begin in a friendly way. Like I feel when I took the Carnegie classes, I feel like if you if you begin in a friendly way with someone, they're gonna they're gonna want to listen to you. Like if you start off with something good, they're gonna want to listen to you more and want to do what you say. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
if you agree or not, but like
I
that's for
I agree.
myself. Like if I hear something good about myself and I know like, and then I really I want to do better. If I hear something bad about myself, I get discouraged and don't have the eagerness as much to actually do better. And if that makes sense.
Makes a lot of
So,
sense.
so this is what I love about the amiable, because that's what they believe. The amiables believe these things. They actually believe that they're true. They just do. And so what they'll do is they'll work with the Davids of the world, and
I'm sorry, who's David? Sorry, I missed.
he's just a person.
Okay.
He's just a
Okay.
person. And so, you know, and so I mean it could be, I mean, I could name a lot of names, but I won't. And so they believe they actually believe what kind, like you say something nice. And it's like,
The doesn't that make doesn't that the idea behind the say some start a conversation in a friendly way means, hey, even if I have to tell them bad news, everybody has something that's good about them. And that's the idea behind Carnegie and building partnerships as opposed to breaking down people. Um,
Like
Tony is very observant.
if I can interrupt, like okay, you
Yeah.
could have maybe the two that he put the same name there, like the two in Life GPS, the two podcasts that he used the same name. You could have said like, "Hey, I appreciate that you put these in here. Thank you for that. Although I noticed that you used the same name. So like why did you do that?" Instead of just
Oh,
starting off with the first thing you see is the bad. And then,
oh,
"Hey, that's just
oh.
stupid. You named them why did you name them with the same name?"
So Nora, do you want to commend me and how much I've grown in the last few months?
On like like this specific topic?
Well, do you see how patient I am with Tony and Katrina? Do you
Yeah.
see how I'm listening to them and how I'm giving them room, and I'm not just creating a
I'm
smoking hole in
interested.
it.
Yeah, yeah, I see that.
So
I'm
you want to
interested
affirm me. You
though.
want to say, Mark, I just want to affirm you for being so nice to Tony and Katrina. And I just think you're just growing, Mark. You're
I can
such a
see it
loving and
welling up
caring.
though. I can.
What's that?
So, but isn't it like kind of like the sandwich principle though? Like,
Oh,
and
really? You're gonna go there?
no, no, listen.
No, you
I'm
did.
like, and
You just
then I'm
went there.
like,
You just went there. So, like the
What,
president,
Mark, what's on your mind? What's really bothering you today? Tell us.
oh,
Because
ignorant is not knowing what to do.
ignorant, did you say? I'm sorry.
Yeah, ignorant. What's the difference? Would you rather be ignorant or stupid?
Wow. I don't know.
Right?
I would rather be stupid.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're ignorant, you're totally going to be, you're
That's like
yeah,
ignorant
that's
is something that you choose to do, right? Or like you choose
I
that if
don't
you
think
want to
so.
be
I think
ignorant or not.
stupid is choosing what to do. Like ignorant is not knowing what to do. Stupid is not doing what we know.
I would have thought it's the other way around.
Yeah, no, it took me, 61 years to figure out the definition of ignorant and stupid. And so what's just cute about this, what's awesome, and I love it that it's on a podcast, because this is what happens. Like Tony, like he made observations about me nobody's ever made before. One is he went ahead and he went ahead and said, Mark, you're very unusual. Like when I told him that I have, typically 5 strategies to succeed. He says, that's unusual. There's not very many people that think like that. So he's the first person in my life. I mean, I tell people all the time, 5, it just makes sense. It's just common sense. Because your first stuff doesn't work unless you're, not very smart like me. I don't know. So nothing ever works. So I have to
it's
have 5.
But see, you put yourself down right there, but you know you're smart.
Don't
So
actually.
no,
I don't put.
no.
That's not putting myself down.
But
That's just humility. It's true humility. It's not a false humility. It's just true humility. And so I know what's going to happen. It's not that hard. Like, I can't wait for another week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I mean, Katrina's only been after it for, a week or two. And so what the amiables do is they go ahead and they all gang up, which is fine. It's kind of cute and kind of fun when they all gang up and they all go ahead and go after the driver and they try to teach the driver. But then what's going to happen when David doesn't listen to Katrina, and Katrina's in my situation and she can't get him to do anything? Is she just going to give up like all the other amiables do? They're lazy. They're just lazy. They just are.
No.
They believe in people. They believe in people, but they're not willing to get in the trenches, and they just give up on people. They're just like, okay, I'm not going to go ahead and do the work. All I want to do is I want the easy things. They don't take the hard things. The driver takes the hard things. They take the hard things, the impossible things. This is why there's so much loyalty that Adam and David have to me, because Adam wasn't as bad as David is, but he was pretty. And so I think Katrina, I mean, she's 20 years old, so she's going to learn. She's going to learn some hard lessons that you're going to be nice to people, and then people are going to go ahead and you're going to be kind and nice to people, and they're just sloppy. They're just lazy. It's like they're sloppy, lazy, undisciplined, and pathetic and stupid. And in business, what they do is they just throw those people away. That's what they do. They don't care about them.
Well,
nice don't care. They just don't.
So if I had people that would not be able to change in the workplace where I was working,
right,
they wouldn't be there.
Right.
They wouldn't be part of the workplace. If after a few times of trying to change them or work with them, I couldn't teach them, and then they'd be gone. That's the environment I was in. But
you have to be in business.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I have a stupid life vision that I can't just go ahead and discard people. I can't just get rid of David. I can't just get rid of him because of the stupid life vision, because it's 8 billion people. You got to help the stupid ones. And so I hope that Katrina, I hope her strategy works. I hope that she can talk to him and be nice to him, and she can go ahead and say, David, why are you doing this? And David, why are you doing this? Because she gets to deal with him. I don't. She's being trained to come in and take over. And so it is going to be interesting. It's a great case study to see. It's going to be a great case study to see if her strategy works. Because in my experience, it doesn't. In my experience, this right here, I think, is the key. And Rosanna went ahead and had it. And so it's when trauma gets triggered. So, when somebody goes ahead and says sandwich, I think back when I was 25 years old, and the president of the company, Tony Davis, he's a ex-Marine. Guy's tough as nails. And he's like, Mark, it's like he didn't give me any advice. He only gave me 2-3 pieces. And he says, Mark, you got a sandwich. You got a sandwich. You got to have praise. And then you have criticism and praise. And I didn't say it at the time, but I've thought about it for the last 40 years. It's like, is that how they train you in the Marines?
I don't know. I would not have thought that, but
I wouldn't.
I would not have thought that. If you either cut it or you don't in the Marines,
right?
That's life or death situations,
right?
You're not talking about life or death situation. You're talking about
no way. Because a client, I don't know, probably about 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, she's like, so she's paying for coaching, and so when somebody pays for coaching, Rosanna said, I can't believe people pay you to beat the crap out of them. I'm like, right, honey, you and the kids get it for free, but other people pay a lot of money for it. And I guess I got a little intense with her. Like, she's paying a lot of money, and I'm like, she's not changing. So I'm going to raise the heat. I'm going to go ahead and bring on the heat. And you know what? I may lose her as a client, but I'm going to do the right thing. And I'm going to, so she's like, whoa, Mark.
So what happened? What happened with the client?
She's like, whoa, Mark. She's like, it's not like somebody's going to die. And it took me back, and it took me a few days to process that. And I said, see, in my world, somebody does die. They just do, because I can see the future. Because there's little girls being raped out there 30 times a day. 9-year-old girls being raped 30 times a day. Well, if I could get the Life GPS mobile app in their hands, and these men, they're just messed up. You're just messed up. Something, you probably were raped when you were a kid. You got a messed up mind. You just messed up. So everybody's like, I can't do anything about that. Well, I can. Because God told me when I was 8, you can do something. And so nobody cares. Like, nobody cares. And it's like, so if I can make money, if I can raise money, if I can get the freaking technology to work, if I can get David to listen, if I can get him to follow direction, like in my world, people die. They just do. And so there's this, there's this young Amish guy that committed suicide just in the last 2 weeks. I could have stopped that if Life GPS, like if I could have reached him. And then there's this other guy, he gets hit by a car and dies. I could have stopped that because people are stupid drivers. They're not paying attention. And so with me, yeah, it is life or death, because I live a life of significance and other people don't. So they don't care. So why does Adam stick around? Why does David stick around? Because I care. I'm not going to give up on him. Everybody else gives up on him. If it's hard work, if it's like, okay, this is hard work, you know what? I'm not going to go ahead and push people. People who don't push people, they think they're caring. They're not. You're just lazy. You're just lazy, sloppy. And so, my youngest son calls me this week. It's been 4 months. And we have a great conversation, meaning he talks, and I let him listen. I listen. I just, like a good dad does, like I have for the last 25 years. Just listen. And he's like, so sorry, Dad. I've been wrong. What I love about you and Ben, which is his 27-year-old's brother. It's like, what I love about you and Ben is that you guys are always there. No matter how you get treated, you're always there. I mean, Einstein said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. But the amiable personality, they do the same thing over and over again. It's just weird. And so, listen to him for 30 minutes and let him talk. And he told me about his day, and, which I've done for 25 years. And so people go and say, oh, you're such a good dad. Am I? Like, he's just mean. I mean, not all the time. He's charming and nice and funny and smarter than all get out. He's unbelievable. But then all of a sudden he gets his HUA, becomes a POS, and then he surrounds himself by a bunch of he's in a whole FOS. It's like, so I do the things that, that good dads do. I just do. I get the living crap beat out of me, which is fine. You know what? It's okay. That's what dads do. That's what men do. You just do that. It's just part of the job. Don't get married and don't have kids if you're not willing to go through. I get that. It's okay. It's okay. It really is. But when he mistreats his mom or mistreats his brothers or sister, when he mistreats other people, you know what? You can mistreat your dad. You can do that. It's okay. But nobody's going to put up with your crap, buddy. And your mom shouldn't have to. And your brothers and sisters, they shouldn't have to. Your 27-year-old brother, he shouldn't have to put up with your crap. Like, he lost a brother too, you idiot. Like, you don't have to have any compassion for your dad. But for your brother, like, he lost a brother. But you know what? All the pastors, all the amiables, all the therapists out there, like, they're trying to fix me. You know what? I'm fixed. Because it's not all about me. Like, I'm going to help little girls. I'm going to help guys that get broken up by girls and they commit suicide. There's a pattern there. Like it's not about me. It's about somebody else. And but the amiables, they're just masterful. It's unbelievable. They're masterful. It's seducing everybody into thinking they're caring. They're not. They're not caring people. They care about themselves. They just do. And this is
now you're putting me in that bucket. All right. But I am trying to change something here. So I'm not sure I totally agree with all you're saying, because I'm trying to change, because I lost a son because of a bad situation too. You know, a girlfriend breaks up with him. There's a whole series of stories here. So at the end of the day, I'm trying to change. He just didn't pause and come down and talk to somebody. I'm trying to change that. So, I mean, I think you can be amiable, but you can still look for how to change things, how to change other people. I couldn't change his story. I couldn't change what happened to him, but I sure could help other kids to not be as impulsive. So I don't necessarily agree that we always accept what happens to other people. I'm not sure that I don't fit in. I don't fully fit into that bucket then.
Don't.
So
you're still in the game. You're still going through. Yeah. Like most dads, they tap out. And I get it. I get why dads tap out. I do. But you're not. Yeah, you're right. You're not. So it's not all, but it's too much. And this is where, like, it's just crazy to me how stupid the world is. It's like the protests are mostly nonviolent. What's mostly nonviolent? You can't be mostly, well, I'm mostly a good driver. Do you understand that you're one time a bad driver and you're going to kill some Amish person, some kids that are biking along the road because you're not paying attention? Like this young man, his dad has cancer and he's taking over the family farm. Like, so he's not paying attention at the wheel and 3 kids die. 3 precious Amish kids die because somebody's not driving and paying attention. And it's like, so you're not in that category, Tony. You're still in the game, you know.
So the other thing that we need to look at, so you're talking about women getting raped and stuff. I have a belief that I have worked with now probably 200 women, and I've trained them self-defense, how to protect themselves, because I believe that women need to know how to protect themselves, so they don't end up in bad situations. All right, I've showed them how to be aware and how awareness plays into this thing. But I mean, there's always going to be bad people out there. There's always going to be people that don't freaking think and don't pay attention. If we can help a small bunch of that to change the way people react to those people or what they do, I think we also make a difference.
Well, that's the thing. Like everybody, like Jim Bontrager, he goes ahead. He's the one that, you know, did the 2.5-minute Mark Borisma for Dummies. And he says he's talking to somebody that I don't know. I'm talking to him, trying to help raise money for and awareness for. And he says, he just interrupts everything. He just speaks up. He says, so let me explain something about Mark. Like, you're really passionate about this one thing, whatever that one thing is. It was law enforcement. You know, he's really passionate about law enforcement and all that they go through. I mean, it's just crazy. Like, in law enforcement, there's more police officers that die from suicide than die from being killed, you know, on the job. It's like, And and he's a chaplain, for crying out loud. Like, do you think your system's not working? Like, you have more people dying from suicide? Like, something's not right in this situation. Anyways, he said, you're really passionate about whatever you're passionate about, and it's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But what you need to learn, what you need to understand about Mark is he's passionate about everything. Like everything. Like if he can bring money, like money brings leverage. It brings time and resources and awareness and capability and knowledge and technology and all kinds of stuff. And so if we can bring money, if we can bring resources, if we can bring awareness, if we can bring helping people how to think, like, it literally saves lives, and nobody's going to come back. Like, we need to teach girls. Like, we need to teach them. We just do. I mean, there's there's a pattern here. And so girls are not taught. You need to understand your power, and you need to be careful about your power, because there's a pattern here. And we need to go ahead and teach boys on not to have girls have so much power over them. And so there's so much, it's how we think. And the bad people, maybe if they can't be rehab, put them into prison so they don't hurt other people. I'm fine with that, and so I mean, like this, Rosanna had posted this, and Rosanna's healing. I can see it, but is it fast enough? The amiable would say it is. The drivers say maybe not. So when trauma gets triggered, you don't act your age, you act the age your wound was created. Think of it this way. Your mind is a house, and somewhere in the house there is a locked room that you haven't opened for years. Something happened in that room when you were 8, 14, or the younger version of yourself. Something happened in that room. So what you did was turn off the lights and shut the door, and you kept on living in the rest of the house. But that room doesn't disappear. It just waits. The moment something enters your mind, you have a feeling. And it sounds like the old fear. The door comes barreling open, and all of a sudden you're right back at the age that it happened again. And that's why you shut down. That's why you panic. That's why you get defensive, because it's never today's version of you reacting. It's still the younger version of you trapped in that room that never got to finish the story. And here's the thing. True healing is not pretending that room doesn't exist. It's walking back in that room, turning on the lights, and making sure the younger version of you finally feels it's safe. And I don't like feeling safe. Don't feel safe, be strong. See, if you're strong, like that's what Tony's doing with the women. Now that addresses one part of women being abused is the physical. But there's another part, women who are abused, often it's because of how they think. They attract abusive men into their life. And they do it again and again and again. And no amount of physical strength. I mean, my youngest daughter, she was assaulted by her boyfriend, and she knows martial arts. She had the physical capability to stop him, but she said she couldn't. She could not go ahead and stop him. It was just, so be strong, because when you do that, you stop reacting as the younger version of you, and you finally start growing up with you. And when you stop acting like the entire room doesn't exist, you take your entire house back. And so I appreciate, all of you going through this. And, will anybody listen to this podcast? I don't know. Am I okay if everyone in the 8 billion people listen? I am. Like, there's people dying, and it sucks to be me, but it's really cool. I mean, like every day, every moment of my life, somebody dies or doesn't because of the choices that I make. And that sucks. because there's always a burden. Like, I'm going to go play pickleball, and I'll enjoy it. It'll give me a reprieve. But I know that there's a connection there. I know there's something there that maybe somebody there has somebody who has ADHD, and I don't even know it, a son or a grandson or a granddaughter or something. And so how do I go ahead and get it? So the Life GPS mobile app is the answer, I think, because it can be programmed to go ahead, and you like pickleball, so you're connected together, and then it can ask questions, and then there can be millions and billions of people going through it, and it can ask questions, and it can says, do you know somebody who has ADHD? And if you do, here's the path. And it can do things that I can't. My heart, you know, but there's not enough of me. But with Life GPS, there can't be. Like, it can't be. It can clone my heart. It can clone Tony's heart. Like, it can clone us. It can reproduce us. It can get out there and help. And so, y'all, thank you. If you have any questions on this, connect with the individual who invited you to participate in today's session, or you can call toll free 888-230-2300 outside the U.S. 630-393-9909. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.